We hear of the hellacious situation of affordability in the housing market and the supply and demand situation. Supply was supposed to help to, I guess, temper the demand, or at least, would make things more affordable. Well, now it turns out we've got an oversupply or a glut in the market, but there's not a lot of movement otherwise. In fact, homes are staying on the market 44.4% more than they had at this time last year. And the number of units represent a 25.1% increase. This is where it's become kind of untenable. You got two forces sort of working at cross purposes. However, on that matter, I defer to the experts in this field. Frank Leo is a friend and he is an expert. He's a broker with Frank Leo and Associates at Remax West Realty, and he's joined us to explain the landscape as it's currently comprised. Frank, I always appreciate your time. Good afternoon.
Thank you, John. How are you doing? And hello to the listeners.
Well, Frank, explain what's going on in the market now. As I'm reading it, the housing market is in a brutal collapse, but you have stated to me, and it's been put out there for public consumption, you can work the system in any market. So tell me what's going on and what might be the best ways to approach things from a buyer's and a seller's perspective.
Well, in every market, there's people who are going to be better off and worse off. So, that's unfortunate for some and an opportunity for others. That said, we're in the market to help clients, deal with their needs, and real estate being their largest investment, we have to have solutions for everyone involved. Now, there's a lot going on right now. It's almost a perfect storm, and that's the issue. Firstly, the amount of mortgages that are renewing this year in 2025 is the most in history. And that means that they're renewing from the all-time low interest rates to a much higher interest rate. So now their payments are going to be higher, and that's hurting a lot of people. So the expenses are there. That's one thing. The other thing that's coming into play is the fact that there's a lot of tariffs, economic news that is pushing investment outside of Canada. And so if that investment is leaving, what that also means is less jobs. And so we've seen HBC, closing down. We've seen manufacturing having issues with the steel tariffs, et cetera. So if there's no work, that becomes another problem. So not only are your mortgage more expensive, now you don't have a job as secure. The car industry is also hurting. All these things come together, and they cause grief. On top of that, the cost of living has gone up. So real estate being your largest investment, but also your largest expense on a monthly basis, it's a perfect storm.
Well, you got 32,000 active residential real estate listings in the GTA. That's the most in many, many years. So when we hear of supply and demand, obviously the supply is now there, is it not? But is it still that this is the unaffordable supply?
Well, the market will take care of that. If there's more people who need to sell and less people buying, then it will have to adjust accordingly. But yes, there's a lot of people who are making a move because they have no choice. It's not a time where people are wanting to make a move. It's more a time where people have to make a move. And so they're coming on the market, and buyers now have more choice and selection. But because we're not building more product, more homes are not being built, out of 91 potential projects in condominium being built, only one was funded because you have to sell pre-construction 75% to get funding. So there's not the appetite to invest in real estate right now, and therefore this is going to have to level out before anything else happens.
Well, the condo market's crashed, hasn't it?
The condo market is hurting because a lot of the condos that were built at the end of that real surge in building were not condos that are useful, but they were just investment vehicles where you have 400 square feet, which is really not something you can live in, but people were hoping to rent them out, Airbnb in them, and now they remove that aspect. They bought these condos, they're overpriced because nobody can live in them and nobody wants them. So it was a poor choice of product. That's why we've seen such a negative condo influence. Condos are a great place to start off living in Toronto. They have access to all the amenities, and that's where people typically start.
Well, yeah, and the condo sales are down about 25% year over year, as well as, I guess it's considered the lowest number of sales for condos since the mid-'90s. We're going back 30 years.
Right. A lot of that was new construction as well. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're selling, John. You know, people are buying. There are buyers out there, and there's opportunities to buy, and they haven't come crashing down in terms of dollars. The sales are down, but the prices are not, because we still don't have enough inventory. I mean, not too long ago, we were looking at how to get more people in the construction business to build these properties that we need, because we have a shortage of supply, and that's what's maintaining the values.
All right, so that's interesting because there are two different metrics here: the number of sales, let's say on a monthly basis, versus the prices. And so you're saying the prices are not coming down, but the number of sales have really been reduced.
Well, the prices came down 4%. I mean, it has to come down a little bit. But yes, it's the number of transactions. People who don't have to move are not moving. There's no longer the "I'll just move for the heck of it." It's more people who need to make a move, and that's an opportunity for some people. So people who are looking to upgrade and move to a larger property, they're having a great time. A lot of selection and great value. So there's opportunity there for people who don't have to make a move. The problem is we're competing with people who, unfortunately, because of the economic circumstances, need to sell, have to sell, and that's putting a little bit of pressure on prices.
Again, Frank Leo is with us, broker with Frank Leo and Associates at RE/MAX West. You know, in terms of recreational properties, too, I see where now cottages are also coming down. You service all over Ontario. What do you hear? What do you know about the cottage property?
Well, if anyone was just speculating or doing something, I mean, during COVID, people went out and they bought these wonderful waterfront properties, and they were going crazy for them, and everybody wanted one, and the prices went sky high, and now they realize that they can't live there, you know, without going to work, and so that's not convenient, and they want to get rid of them. Well, everyone's selling at the same time. You know what that means? More opportunities for buyers to select between them, and whoever wants to sell more, and that's why those prices have come down drastically, just like they went up drastically.
Yeah, I think they went up about 30% on average during COVID. How far have they come down percentage-wise? Any idea?
Yeah, well, some of them are underwater, you know, which means that the mortgages are probably more than the value of the property that they purchased for. So, you know, it's unfortunate that happened, but it's a short-term play. If you go and you follow the masses, you get hurt. I mean, the way to really invest is not follow everyone, but lead, or do the opposite. When everyone is selling, you buy. When everyone is buying, you sell. Well,
is this a buyer's market right now, cottage country, as well as, you know, just detached homes in Toronto that everyone seems to want?
There's more people wanting to sell in those areas, and so that means there's more opportunity. And the beauty of that for buyers is not only in terms of pricing, but, you know, one of the problems when the market was going crazy and prices were high, buyers were buying a property just to get into the market so that they would buy before it went up higher. Now a buyer has the opportunity to actually really look at the properties, buy something that's going to be good for them, not just in the short term, but for the long term. And as an investment, it's a much, much better way to buy. So they don't have to move for a very long time.
Right. So it's not sight unseen or conditional or anything. I'm saying or seeing that people, some are so, I guess, frustrated by the situation with housing affordability and so on, that they want to maybe even ban people from offshore or, you know, speculators from getting into the market. Would that be somewhat of a solution, Frank?
Well, I think we already have done that with the taxes on foreign buyers, et cetera. Look, John, ultimately, it's simple. You know, if you have people working and having good jobs and good pay, they can afford more, and that's what we want. I think the economy is broken from that perspective. We need to get more investment and more jobs, and if everyone's working, there's no problems. I think right now there is a concern of where we're headed in terms of our jobs. Are they secure? And if your job is not secure, how can you really spend that kind of money?
Okay, apart from a foreign buyer's tax, is there anything else or a role for the government in this market? Well,
the government, of course, they control all the levers. I mean, they have the cost of inputs. So you have the land transfer tax, you have the development charges, you have all kinds of different costs that are coming up in a home that raised the price. And just so you know, I talk to agents across North America, and I have not found another place where the cost of transaction to move from one property to another is as high as it is in Ontario. Everywhere else, I mean, the land transfer tax, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. Here we're paying, you know, for $1 million property in Toronto, it's like $33,000.
Well, yeah, it's been cited oftentimes that this is something, but you know, where we have double the land transfer tax municipally as well as provincially. The governments are so, let's say, tied into, or at least, it's almost like an addict who needs their fix. They can't give up this kind of a revenue stream, because they rely on it to subsidize whatever their pet projects are. So we're not going to see any reduction on that front, are we?
Well, we need a restructuring. I mean, if we restructure the way the money is collected by the government, where it encourages, investment and working hard, and that might be a better factor, because when someone actually moves, the amount of economic activity that occurs with that is huge, because they're buying new furniture, they're doing landscaping, they're buying blinds, windows, appliances, all that extra commerce. By limiting the amount of homes that are transacting, it hurts our economy. I mean, our economy has been based on real estate as well as cars, and both of them right now are hurting, and that's why the whole economy is suffering.
Yeah, and we'll have to see where the Bank of Canada goes with interest rates. I guess they meet next month. But what's your sense? Are they coming down to a point? It's not like the free money days pre-COVID, but do you get a sense that there would be relief on that front that will get people off the fence and back into the housing market?
I mean, that would be a good thing, but there's other factors, I think, that are more prevalent, and the bonds are very important to the economy, because if we have inflation, we can't do that, and so it becomes a double-edged sword. I mean, yes, lower rates are good, but what's really important is economic activity. Producing, services and goods, having a good GDP is key. I mean, if we have more production for each individual person in Canada, that's where we've been sorely lacking over the years, and that's unfortunate. So unless we can have some support in that regard, where we have jobs aplenty, we're going to have problems.
In other words, all boats rising with the proverbial tide, and that applies to the real estate market as well. Just wanted to run these numbers by you and get your sense for the market and the realities. Frank Leo, broker at Remax West, Frank Leo and Associates. I'm telling you, Frank, it's always good to talk and get your insights on these matters.
John, the one thing for sure, though, real estate long-term is a fabulous investment, but there are bumps in the road, and here we have a bump.
You got it. All right. We'll take that under advisement. Good to talk as always, Frank. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Have a great day.